Good day, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dika, and I am going to give you a little review or a tutorial on a bait that I use as a search bait. Now, it's not a new bait. It's been around for, I'm going to say, close to 10 years. Predominantly, it's an early summertime bait, but I use it in the early spring as a search bait. It is the Livingston Pro Wake. It's a wake bait. You can see, get a good look at it here. It's I have some specs on it before I get into it. If you enjoy this content, if you like reviews and stories and things like that, fishing and hunting, please subscribe to my page, make a comment, like. It helps me out a bunch. The only way I can grow is with subscribers. And if you do subscribe, ring the bell, and that will notify you of any new videos that I got coming out. All right. So Livingston's been around for, I'm going to say, close to 10 years, and they're notorious for having electronics inside of the baits, so they make sound. So I'm going to give you some specs on this. I wrote some things down, and I'm going to be reading a little bit from it. I don't want to forget anything, and I want to give you a good idea of what this bait is good for. So Livingston, it's called the Pro Wake. I think it came out in 2012. I think 2012, maybe eight or 9 years ago. It may have even come out before that, but I think it was 2012. It's a wake bait. It has this 90-degree angle, so it's only going to dive down a foot. And I don't even think it dives down that far. I mean, you can really burn it, and you're going to get 6 inches at the most. It's 3 inches long, and it has pretty stout mustad hooks. I've changed these out multiple times. I think these ones are actually trocar hooks, but I've changed them out multiple times. But it comes with mustad hooks, and you don't need to change them out. They're excellent hooks. This color is called the black back chrome. I have had this particular bait, this exact bait, for multiple years, and it still works. I use it as a search bait. I use it to find those fish. A lot of people would think, well, it's top water. You know, they're not going to be biting top water, but it's not top water. It's a wake bait, so it goes just subsurface. And this bait has a lot of things going for it, and I'm going to tell you what they are. So when it came out, it was all the rage that it had electronics in it and it makes sound. It was called a smart bait, and there's something to it. I'm not sure if it just goes out and murders fish, and you can slay them all day long, but I think used appropriately, it will work. So this has, so once this gets wet and goes into the water, it makes this sound. So let's see if I can. So it goes for 4, and it also has a light on the back. So if they go in 4-second intervals. So it will, what I'm doing is wetting my fingers and then doing this. So it's, right now it's making that sound, and the sound's going to go for 4 seconds, and then the light's going to come on, and the light's going to stay on for 4 seconds, and then it's going to go back to the sound. Livingston calls it like a croaking sound, and hopefully you heard that. Do it again, I won't talk. All right, so hopefully you heard that. It sounds good. I could hear it here, and hopefully you can hear it there. But what it does, it makes that croaking sound for 4 seconds, and then it does the light for 4 seconds. 4 seconds. So that's two things that will try to trigger fish. Now, it has the wake. It makes that wake bait, and if anyone's ever used a wake bait that has that like the bait itself wobbles through the water, and it has a tail kicking action. So that's two other things that another bait doesn't have. And on top of it, it's got a really big knocker inside. So it makes a wake, It has a knocker. It has two actions. It has the normal sort of crankbait wobble, and then it has the actual whole body wobble on top of that. It makes sound, and it lights up. So I would say, for me, personally, utilize anything you can to find fish. And you might catch one on the top water, but most times, for me, you're going to see them, they're going to come after it, or they might short strike it, or they might just snap at it. But once you find the fish, then you can use whatever you want. Use a chatterbait, you can use a jig, and you have to pretty much find out what they're biting on that day. But it's an excellent, excellent search bait because it has so much going for it. So where I throw it for the most part, and you can cover water, so you can burn it around, you can a slow retrieve or a moderate retrieve, but you can really cover a lot of water with this bait. And it doesn't have to be like other baits. They have to be moving in order to attract fish. This isn't necessarily the case. So once it gets wet, it's going to make that croaking sound, and it's going to light up. So it has those two things going. So you can pause it, and it's still going to have two actions that any other bait won't have. Like I said, it's excellent for finding fish. Now, not necessarily catching fish, but finding fish, yes. In the early summer and the summertime, it kills it. Absolutely kills it. This is a perfect top water windy bait. When it's really windy, you don't throw a lot of top water because the disturbance is already there. But this causes all types of crazy commotion, even on a windy day. A lot of people throw like a spinner bait or a chatterbait or something that has a profile that doesn't necessarily look like a fish because the fish can't see it as well. But this works really, really good for that sort of top water windy days. Now, excuse me, I'm reading here. I don't want to forget anything. What I throw this on is I throw it on mono, because most top water things I throw on mono. Even a frog I'll throw on mono because it just helps it stay buoyant, because as we know, monofilament it floats. So I use 20-pound mono, but I think anything 15 and up is going to work. I mean, you're going to get that stretch. If something does hit it, as we know, the more of the sort of the retrieve baits, you don't have to set the hook as hard because they're moving this way and the fish are coming the other way. So it depends on how fast you're retrieving it is going to be ultimate hook set strength, so to speak. You really don't need to hammer it home. Like a spinnerbait, you don't really need to hammer the hook set because it's usually already moving. So I throw it on a mid-range. I use a 6, 8. I think it's a 6/8 to 1 that I throw it on. Bait caster, obviously. I use 20-pound monofilament, and it's a 7.2 medium heavy. That's what I throw it on. But I'm old school. I use monofilament for a lot of stuff. I almost never use braid. I use braid on some of my spinning setups, but I'm monofilament or fluorocarbon for almost everything. And then the poundage depends on if I'm using something light or heavy or whatnot. But that's what I use. So a 7.2 medium heavy, 20-pound monofilament. It works. Now, where I throw it, obviously you want to cover water, but the bass in early spring and spring, they're coming into the shallows. So you don't really want to be throwing a wake bait in sort of deep water, especially in early spring, because the chances of them coming up to that area are slim, so to speak. So I throw it around like where there's like a space in the water column. So a place that would normally midsummer would be covered with lily pads, I throw it there because those lily pads are just starting to come up. And you're going to have a space in the water between the lily pads and between the surface of the water. It might be 2 feet, it might be 1 foot, it could be 3 feet. But that's where I want to throw it. I want to throw it in those spots where there's spaces. So like you might have grass, or you might have some milfoil, or the raccoon tail, or whatever. You might have that coming up or just starting to sprout up. and there's a space between that and the surface of the water. So you're going to have, like, you have your grass line here, and it's just starting to come up, or lily pad roots or whatnot, and then the surface of your water is here. You want to throw it in that type of sort of environment, and that's where I find, and that's probably where you're going to be finding those schools of fish anyway. They're going to be hiding in that grass, so they might be cruising around the schools a little bit, looking for beds, or held up in staging areas feeding. And I also throw it parallel to cover. So, and a lot of times it's man-made cover. So a lot of like if you have a, well, not necessarily man-made, but like a dock, a lot of your docks aren't really in at springtime, but if you have a dock, throw it along that, because they're going to be staged up underneath that if they're moving through there. If you have a big lay down, throw it parallel to that. I'm thinking what else? Rock piles. If you know your body of water well, if you know that there's rock piles or even lay down subsurface, if I could speak today, I'd be dangerous. But that's where you would throw it. Well, that's where I throw it, and I find that it's a wonderful tool for finding fish in the springtime. So once again, Livingston Pro Wake. Leave you with some sound, and then a beautiful green light. I know guys that use these at night, just because of that light, and they kill it. I've never used it at night. I use it for spring as a search bait, and I think it looks wonderful. This is just, they have a variety of colors. This is just the one that I use. I really like those sort of flashy type chrome things as search baits. Like a spinner bait. A spinner bait can be considered a search bait. It has a lot of flash to it. So, like I said, smart bait, that smart bait technology, that croaking sound. So it's got a wobble. It's got two wobbles. It's got that tight wobble from the bill, and then it's got the whole wobble. It makes sound, it lights up, and it has a knocker. All right? So if you like this content, as I always say, please subscribe, like, leave a comment, and ring that bell. That's going to let you know any new videos that I come out with. All right? Everyone be well, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.